The Up Tempo Podcast 2023 Kickoff Special starts right now.
You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, Auburn family? Welcome to the Up Tempo Podcast 2023 Auburn Football Kickoff Special. I'm your host, Dustin Smith, joining you from a very, very hot Pensacola, Florida. And I'm sure it's not much hotter in Mobile, Alabama, or Phoenix City. I'm sure it's hot as hell there too, boys. I got my guy, Mike G. As always, I got the king of Mobile, Blake Lane, Mr. 251 in the building. Blake, how are you, bud?
Like you said, brother, it's hot, but it's even hotter now because college football is 3 days away, and I'm just waiting on Vanderbilt and Hawaii and USC and the two teams that we're going to play, right? New Mexico State and UMass, they get to kick it off. So can't wait to watch that one. Just excited for the sport to finally be back, and you know, we get to see toe meet leather, brother, and that's the exciting part about it. So I'm ready.
3 teams we play this week, Mike G. 3 teams that we play this year will be in action.
Yeah.
It's here, man. It's here. I saw your picture yesterday at the Phoenix City practice, how them boys look.
Yeah. Just went to go check out my high school alma mater and see Mr. Cam Coleman out there practicing. They look tired. It's hot, like as you mentioned. It's really hot. This heat is something serious. It's definitely a health hazard. But again, I think they're getting ready for a good season. Excited for college football to be back. This weekend, the week 0 games you guys mentioned, we get Notre Dame, UMass plays New Mexico State. Obviously, Auburn has a vested interest in watching that game, as well as Vanderbilt. And out west, USC and San Jose State play. I'll be interested to see Mr. Caleb Williams' encore to his Heisman campaign.
You think he repeats?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. Ooh,
no, absolutely not. I think somebody else will take the crown. I'm not big on Pac-12 quarterbacks, though, because of the conference that they're in, and it's pretty easy to throw the ball at conference. So it'll be interesting. They had 8 quarterbacks, guys. 8 quarterbacks throw for 3,000 or more yards.
Yeah.
Auburn has had 2 the whole history of the program.
DC in 97 and Stidham in 2017, man. That is absolutely that's nuts, man. Before we get in here and get going, guys, we had been advertising that Jake Crane was going to be with us tonight. He had an emergency with his dog, so pray for Jake Crane. It's a big deal, and so we hope everything's good there. Hope that the puppy's okay, and he will join us in a couple weeks or so. We'll get an interview with him. So I just want to make that announcement before we get in here tonight. But Mike's with us now. Ike Jones will be joining us here in a little bit. Harrison Tarr, and one question that we wanted to really get into right here, Mike, is that, like we said, man, football season is here. We're ready to go, and Hugh Freeze's first off season is pretty much come to an end, right? I mean, that second scrimmage wrapped up fall camp. They're starting game prep. Here we go. Overall, Mike, it was a whirlwind for every Auburn fan these past 2 years. And personally, I sense a little bit of hope now coming into this season, and not the fake hope, not the hope that we had to put on last year where we were kind of convincing ourselves things were going to be okay. If you had to put a letter grade on this, recruiting, how he's handled things in the community, just everything that it entails, the mess that he took over, everything that it entails being Auburn's coach in this current time period, what would you give it? And just kind of give us your thoughts on that.
I think it was an A. It was an A. Falls just short of an A+, but listen, the buzzword here is hope. Hope starts with recruiting, right? And if you want to build a program, I think you have to go out and you got to get the guys. There was a feeling when Brian Harsin was here that you're not going to out-develop Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. You need to go out and get dudes. So Hugh Freeze showed that he can do that. Number one, he attacked areas of need. So what did he do? He went out and he attacked the offensive line. Guys, we all know how poor the offensive line recruiting has been over the last few years. Hugh Freeze went out and got 9 offensive linemen to come in, and that's going to be a much improved position for Auburn this coming season, which bodes well for a better offense as well, too, because with all things equal, Auburn, think about it, even with the 5 games that they won, there were a couple in there that just with Mississippi State, the loss there, Mississippi State, LSU, they had that game handled and they lost it at the end. I mean, this could have been a 7 or 8 win team if the ball bounces right and you got a few more dudes at key positions. So they went out and they got Peyton Thorne to come in. He's going to get the nod week 1 versus UMass. And you got to grade this an A for Hugh Freeze. He went out and he got every single position that he needed to fill a guy at. They found a guy. Right. And I think Auburn feels really good about the guys that they got to plug in there.
You mentioned the quarterbacks, Mike. I think that my feeling coming out of this camp was this: you bring in Peyton Thorne, and it appears like Robbie Ashford and Holden Geriner stepped up to the plate. If it seems like they made it, at least I don't want to put competition in quotation mark. I think it got real, right? But I think it got closer than it was expected to get for sure. But it seemed to me like Robbie got better. I mean, Hugh said as much, and Hugh's been pretty candid as so far as the head coach. It seems like Holden got better. And I made the point on our last podcast that it also seems like he coached the guys a little bit differently. Do you think that he got the best out of all three of those guys in this competition? And kind of what does that say about what those guys are made of internally? Because Robbie could have folded, right? But it seemed, and what did Hugh say the other day? He said, this isn't Peyton Thorne's job automatically. Robbie's right here on him.
Yeah. I think that we got to start learning to take Hugh Freeze at his word. I don't think we've gotten a ton of coach speak from, Hugh Freeze. I think he said exactly what he's meant. Most of the time, he was pretty clear about what he felt Robbie Ashford had to do to step up as an SEC quarterback. I think he still feels like he's got some room to grow in that area. They went out and they got Peyton Thorne. They talked about his leadership. They talked about certain things, but he was pretty clear that all these guys had a great camp. They did. I think Holden Geriner primarily lost out to the experience of the other two. And then I think Hugh Freeze recognizes that Robbie Ashford has something that not a lot of quarterbacks have in elite athleticism. He called him different. He said, like, he's different. And that's what he means. He means he's elite in terms of what he can do athletically. So ultimately what this boils down to is who gives you the safest floor for the season. Right now, coming out of the gate, they feel like that's Peyton Thorne. That could change rapidly. We'll see. The SEC comes at you quick, right? And, Thorne was part of an 11-2 season, but he was also part of a 5-7 campaign where they didn't make a bowl game. Right. So we'll see what he can do, but he's going to be given a shot, and he deserves a shot to be the unfettered guy. But again, coaches have to win games, and life comes at you fast. So if he's not getting it done, I expect Hugh Freeze to do what he needs to do to get somebody in there who can get the job done.
Well, Mike G, I heard you say that you give Hugh Freeze an A for the job that he's done in the offseason. And I've heard a lot of people throw around some expectations for this Auburn team, but I wanted to get your reasonable expectations of what this Auburn team could possibly do in this 2023 season.
Look, guys, reasonable for a guy you're paying $6 million a year should be bowl game, right? It's reasonable to expect Auburn to make a bowl game. Mm-hmm. And if you cannot make a bowl game with this roster, God, I mean, they won 5 games last year. He's got to do one game better than that. Mm-hmm. Scheme your way to one more win, and that will be acceptable. I personally don't think that missing a bowl game is acceptable. Now, a 5-7 season is not going to get Hugh Freeze fired, but you will burn up some of that goodwill you built in the offseason if you can't take this roster and win 6 games, right? If you win 5 games, guys, you definitely blew some games. Mm-hmm. You blew some games you were supposed to win, at least 2 in my book, especially with the schedule, because this is the easiest schedule that Auburn has had in 10 years. Now, that's not saying a lot because the schedule is always difficult, but you know what I mean? That's going to be year in, year out. So you've got to find a way to win with that schedule. I think that the floor is 6 wins, and that is a reasonable expectation for any fan. Now, is it reasonable to expect 8 to 9 wins? 8, maybe. 9, not really reasonable, but you can be hopeful for 9. Mm-hmm. If some things happen in your favor. So, 6 to 8 wins in year 1 would be a great year for Hugh Freeze. I think that's enough for you to show proof of concept so that the recruits that you're trying to go out and continue to get see that you can produce enough of what you said you could do for them to commit to the vision and say, yes, they were pretty good, but if they had me, it could put them over the top. That's what you got to think. But if you're a recruit, you can't think that's a dumpster fire. Nobody can help that. We're gonna have to bring in a whole army to change it around. You can't be there. You got to change the narrative about the direction of the program, and you got to do that with wins. Period. Recruiting is great, guys, but you got to show proof of concept on the field, and you got to show that you can win. And there's talent on this team. You have to produce a serviceable quarterback. You have to take these running backs, this stable of great running backs, and you've got to produce an exciting running game, and you got to figure out a way to bring back the forward pass at Auburn. Right? Like, you got to throw the ball.
Yep.
You figure out how to throw the ball.
Yeah. Dustin, I want to hop over here in these comments real quick, and I got Jackson Hall here. He says more worried about the defense than the offense out of camp. Mike G, how do you feel about that?
You know what? This is legitimate worry, right? Run D was a concern during the spring. It looks like it continues to be a concern. As we're getting information in, I'm a tiny bit worried about depth, but we'll see what they do. That secondary is good. They've got a lot of talent back there. Will they be on an island? Now, we've heard some good things about them being able to generate a pass rush, which might be really important this year. So from that jack position, can you get guys off the edge to get to the quarterback? We'll see. I think the run D definitely is a concern. But I don't know that I would be more worried about the defense than the offense. Until we've seen it, I could not put that on the defense. I'm more worried about the offense than the defense.
Mike, our guy, War Eagle right here. I think we see all three QBs put points on the board against UMass. What do you say about this? and to defend you, War Eagle, real quick, we had our boy Nathan on he's the play-by-play announcer for UMass. I asked him to give me a universe where UMass made a bowl game, and he told me it didn't exist. And he told me that if we did find that universe, that they would build a statue of the head coach outside. So that program is down bad. What do you think?
Yeah, Mike? I haven't heard you ask yet. I've heard you massacre. That's been one I've heard. Look, I hope I no. And here's why. Whoever doesn't win, well, let me put it this way. Thorne has already won the job. Robbie only has 1 year of SEC starting experience. I don't think you take reps away from him if this is a blowout. You're going to, I don't think you take reps away from the number 2 in this one. I really don't. Okay. I think there is too much in question for him as a quarterback to take opportunities away from him to show command of the offense, to develop chemistry with his team under the lights, and just to perform under the lights in general. I want to see 2 quarterbacks in this. I want this to be a blowout by halftime. And I want to see Robbie come in and get some valuable in-game experience that he still needs. Peyton Thorne has 2 full seasons of it. Right? Robbie does not. And he played hurt all of last season. So you probably want to see what he can do with his arm while healthy in game and see if he's a gamer. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you waste the reps in this one unless it's like it's truly, man, if this thing is out of hand by,
42-0
mid of the second quarter, maybe you hold in the fourth quarter, but you picked your 2 quarterbacks, man. Get the backup meaningful time because you may need them. You guys have probably heard me say this before. Over half the teams in this conference last year needed their backup quarterback to start an entire game. Don't take reps from your backup, man, if he's not experienced.
Shout out to our boy Tanner right here. Now, before I ask you this one, Mike, I already know what you're going to say. I know Mike's answer to this one, but we'll get you in here, my guy Tanner. Is it reasonable to think that if Auburn has a 1,000-yard receiver, it is probably Shane Hooks, right? And Mike G says,
no.
Yeah, we know.
I don't think he'll get the volume to get to 1,000 yards, right? And from what I know. I don't know, man. I think that if Peyton Thorne's the quarterback, I think that Jay Fair eats, man. I think he eats, and he eats a lot. I think Fairweather eats. Hooks is getting a lot of hype in camp, and deservedly so. He's an athletic guy, and he can make some plays. But guys, I'm telling you, the meat of this receiver room was here already.
Mike, you've had a lot of conversations in the summer, and I just want to ask you, man, as we get closer here, right? Because we talked 2 months ago, had a long conversation, and it just kind of sounded like your biggest concern wasn't even really on the field. It was a reasonable one, that you had half the team flip and that the team needs to come together and that there's some team chemistry issues. And I think that's reasonable for any team that has a head coaching turnover, really where you've had 2 guys, 3 guys, whatever here in the past 3 or 4 years. This program has been a mess, and there's you said it recently. You've said Harsin wasn't lying about the culture problem. That's one thing that he was telling the truth about.
Yeah.
Do you feel like as the summer's gone on and we've got into fall camp that some of these chemistry issues have been resolved? You think, I know that you really won't find out until these boys get into the fire. But man, when I watch the Firesides and I kind of see the way these guys interact, it gives me some hope. How do you think that's come along?
I think it's coming along great. I think
Awesome.
team leadership has stepped up, and they found a way to create some accountability, some self accountability as a team, which is important. If I don't think you can be a great team if you can't self police. And what do I mean by that? I mean players getting on other players about not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. They created kind of like an accountability team. We know Damari Alston is on it. Jay Farrah's on it. There's some guys who have stepped up as leaders and that they want to be voices in the room that really are going to be the future of the program as well, too. Now, a lot of the guys they've asked to do this will be the core of your team next year.
I was gonna say, those are young guys.
Yeah, right. So, I think it speaks volumes to their maturity. But yes, I think that they have they've created an environment where accountability is demanded. Right. And that's really important because here's what, if you can't be accountable to each other, listen, man, that field on Saturday will demands it. Right. Any lack of accountability will show up on Saturdays. Right. So if you're not finishing workouts, if you're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing in the SEC, man, on Saturday, it's going to show. So you got to have discipline. I heard somebody say once, forget how you feel, like focus on being disciplined, because nothing you have to do right in life changes based on how you feel. You still got to get up. You still got to get to the workouts. You still got to grind it out. You have to do what you need to do. Right. And I think that that's the environment that they're creating. Right. Guys are done with excuses and they're just trying to get it done, man. And we'll see how it works out.
Dustin, I wanted to hop over here to our guy Dax real quick, man.
Yeah, what's up, baby?
Dax Lee said, we've got talent on this team. Here at Up Tempo, it's pronounced we got dudes. Yeah, that's what I like to stick with, brother. I like saying we got dudes. And let's hop over here to Jeremy. Jeremy Russell says, how do you think Hugh Freeze and Peyton Thorne will connect through the season? Mike G?
I think if Peyton Thorne plays well, they'll connect great. Ultimately, Hugh Freeze wants to win games, man. And, he's talked about playing two quarterbacks. He's been asked this question repeatedly this offseason, and he just says, hey, we're going to have a starter. Now, these are Hugh's words. Mm-hmm. And I was the one to ask the question. I said, will you have a bona fide starter for game one? He said, we'll have a starter. I don't know how bona fide he's going to be, but we'll have a starter. Right. And I think that what he means is that there was not a ton of separation in terms of ability this offseason. Right. They brought Peyton Thorne in for a reason. They saw something in him that they liked. But this is the first time in a long time I felt like, Holden and Robbie didn't win the job, obviously, but I think they were given a fair shot to show that they could win it. And that's important. I think it's important to feel like there is a fundamental foundation of fairness, especially at that position, because you can only send one guy out there at a time. Mm-hmm. I think that happened this offseason. So, the competition is not over.
Right.
It's just not. Like I said, man, you need your backup. And once you get your shot, remember TJ? Remember what TJ said? The most disappointing thing I've ever heard. Right. Like I checked out when Bo won the job, and when it was my turn, I wasn't ready. Give me a break, man. Like that I was mad and sad at the same time at those comments, because some guys never get their shot. You got multiple shots. And then you're telling me on the back end of that, you weren't ready when your time came. Holden and Robbie can't afford to be in that position. You never know when you're going to get called up to the bigs, man, and you got to be ready. So, hopefully that's where these guys are at mentally.
Mike, I know you got to get out of here, buddy. Real quick, I got one more question for you, Blake, if you got one more. And our guy Stuart, just want to say hey to you, Mike. Give us a Yahtzee, bro. Give us a Yahtzee, Mike.
Yeah, no. I had a great day, guys.
Mike was having fun, Stuart. Now we ain't going to get him back no more. Look, Mike, you do the media stuff, man. You're killing it out here, right? You're the number one guy, in my opinion. But let's put that hat. Let's put that hat to the side, man. And I want to talk to Mike G, the Auburn fan.
Okay.
We have said it a million times. We have had 9 straight seasons of 4+ losses. We won 10 games and still found a way to lose 4+ losses. I just think that this fan base's hunger matches the hunger of Hugh Freeze and wanting to prove that he is still that guy. And like you said, we have hope again. How excited is Mike G, the Auburn fan, to get Auburn football back? And what is that hope level, Mike? Like, boog for me a little bit, bro.
The hope level is high. And here's why. For the first time in a long time, Auburn might have a real quarterback guru. Somebody who knows what they're doing with quarterbacks. And the reason why that excites me is because since 2000, anytime Auburn has truly found a quarterback, it's been championship time, man. They've been in the hunt. 2004, Jason Campbell hits his stride, undefeated season, right? Cam comes in, bam, national title, Heisman, right? Nick Marshall comes 3 seconds away, man. Jarrett Stidham, if Gus didn't Gus it up in the SEC championship game, that's a playoff appearance. Anytime Auburn has had a decent quarterback, they have been in the championship hunt, right? And I think that it's important that, if you have a guy who knows what he's doing with quarterbacks, and I'd be remiss to say Bo Nix had enough talent to be that dude. He didn't have the coaching or the system. I mean, like, Gus was trending down pretty hard, man, by the time Bo got here. And I felt like, that was wasted talent as well, too. So, at the end of the day, we need somebody who knows what they're doing with quarterbacks. If Hugh Freeze is that guy, I'm super excited, man. I don't know how you could not be excited about that. You guys were the ones who gave me the stat twice in Auburn history, right? They've had 3,000-yard passers. That's an insane stat.
Yeah, and didn't win the SEC either of those years. Went to the SEC title both times. Lost to Peyton Manning in '97, and then lost. And obviously, Georgia put it on us in 2017.
Wow, Damian Craig and Jarrett Stidham, and look how far between. There were 20 years between those 2,000-yard passers. Yeah. That's crazy.
They had 5 years since, and we haven't had one.
Yeah, man. So I just feel like if Auburn fans can get excited about being able to just score enough points to win. Hugh Freeze wins in year one. How many games, guys, over the last 5 or 6 years did Auburn lose because they couldn't score 3 touchdowns?
Jeez.
A lot. The answer is a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so they just need to get back again, bring back the forward pass. I think Hugh Freeze is going to do that. He just recently had a 1,400-yard receiver at Liberty. He turned Malik Willis into a draft pick. He's had a good history with getting the most out of his guys on offense. I think he's going to have more talent here than he's ever had anyplace else. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with that talent. So that's got to be exciting, man. Like I said, year one, show me proof of concept. I know there are going to be some down moments, but I expect just as many highs in year one. And I think it's going to be a fun ride that will give Auburn fans a lot of hope. Going to give me a lot of hope and hopefully us a lot of positive things to talk about.
And then that schedule opens up next year. You got anything for him, Blake?
No, man. Just plug your show, Mike G, man. And
new fireside coming soon.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I don't like to get mad at me, but
we won't tell him.
He accuses me of being the clumsy chef and spilling the beans all the time. But look, guys, you guys know where to find us, man. We're at the War Report, every social media platform. TW Report on TikTok. Go to YouTube, hit subscribe. Also, subscribe to these guys. Support the War Report Network. They're doing great work, and I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. Hey, I'm coming up there to Phoenix City soon, buddy. I'll holler at you next week.
All right, man. See you guys later.
Brother. Yes, sir. All right. We appreciate Mike G for us. Let's go ahead and get our next guest in here, man. Keep those comments coming. Y'all know the deal. Hit the super chats. We'll automatically bring you up. Our members, we're trying to get your comments in here as well. Our guy, Ike Jones. Ike, who? What's up, baby?
What's going on, people?
Yes, sir.
What's up, Ike?
Y'all doing all right tonight?
We having a good time in here, man.
Wait, Ike,
right
they tricked me into it, Ike. They tricked me into it. It was a Jedi mind trick. You know what I'm talking about. Y'all tell them what it is.
little fireside. Something coming. We didn't want to spill too much of the beans.
I don't even know what y'all talking about, but what's up?
Ike, what's up, man? What's up, brother? We were asking everybody tonight, Ike, starting off, man, the off season's over with, and Hugh Freeze took over an absolute mess. And here we are, Next weekend, we're kicking this thing off.
Yeah.
So when you take everything into consideration, recruiting, how we had to handle the transfer portal, I guess that kind of follows under recruiting, the team chemistry that had to be built, the kind of culture change that was needed, the fractured fan base that he took over and bringing that back together, all the stuff when we talk about fit, what goes on in the community, the uniqueness that is Auburn University and matching, feeling like you're part of the community, feeling like you're part of the family, just everything that it encompasses, everything that he walked into. If you had to put a letter grade on it, what would you give him?
I'd give Coach Hugh Freeze an A, man. I don't think, so far, right? Like, so you have to judge him on wins and losses, right? But like, if you're talking about off-season productivity, they've brought in quality talent from both changing what the initial freshman class was going to look like up until the time that they closed on National Signing Day. The transfer portal did an amazing job with bringing in upgrading talent and allowing for more competition in just about every position group and room that there is out there. Signs maybe like kicker, right? Like, I don't think they did anything in that, but I mean, literally, if you go special teams, defense, offense, literally all three phases of the game, they brought a difference maker in at each of those things. I think that what's happening as far as from the conversations we've had with players on the team, as far as the locker room is concerned and the feeling that's in the facility, it's upgraded there. I don't know how you could go below an A when you consider all of those things. I mean, I welcome an argument for someone who says anything outside of that, but he has changed the entire culture of what Auburn University football is and the expectations of the fan base from I don't know what we're going to do in year one to some people thinking we're going to a national title. Now that's a little bit overblown, but still, when you can get people going from, gosh, I don't know if I'm going to watch Auburn football to I'm excited for game 1 versus UMass. Let's sell out all of our off-season tickets, right? Like, we're just going to sell out the entire freaking thing for all of the season tickets. That's quite a turnaround in a very short amount of time. It's an A for me.
I heard you say that some people expect national championships. Some people expect 10-2. What are your reasonable expectations, and what do you think this team is set up for this year?
I think reasonable expectations is 7 wins, right? If we were to get less than 7 wins this season, I would be surprised. I'd be surprised at less than 7 wins. If we were to get more than 9 wins, I'd also be surprised. So 7 to 9 wins is right where I'm sitting. Just because I do think that there are some things that still have yet to be ironed out as far as the system is concerned on both offense and defense. And I don't know that the talent gap has been closed to a sufficient enough place where you can have deficiencies in your scheme and and your understanding of the scheme to be able to have that much of a gap. Ball bounces a lot of different ways on Saturdays, so we'll see what happens in regard to those things. But 7 to 9 wins, I think, is probably a reasonable expectation. Anything lower than 7, anything above 9, that would be where I'd get into the surprise space.
Right. Ike, I've been saving this one for you, buddy. You are the film breaker downer guy.
That's what my Twitter profile says.
I know, buddy, and I like that. What will be our main personnel package on offense? 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. It seems Hugh and Montgomery ran 11 most of the time at their pass stops.
I would say probably 60 to 70%. We're going to go 11 personnel. Probably early in the season, you'll see a little bit more 12. Just because of the nature of what Rivaldo Fairweather can do. And you'll see some 21 as well. You'll probably see a couple of 2-back sets that are going to get floated out there. But I'd say the vast majority of times we line up, it's going to be 11.
When you hear, we've heard a lot about packages for Robbie, whether he wins the job or not. And obviously Peyton's going to start week 1. What are those packages what do you think those look like? Because personally, I don't think it's just going to be like a kind of a little wildcat, because Robbie's a quarterback. He can run the offense. Do you think there are going to be times where they just take Robbie out there and just run the offense type thing and call it the Robbie package, but really it's just getting him reps and getting our best athlete the ball?
Yeah.
Or do you think it'll be specific to just specific kind of package?
It's going to be a very similar offense to what they run anyway. It's an RPO scheme for the most part. You're probably going to be a little bit more heavy into a read option with Robbie in there where it's designed runs. But there is going to be a pass element in the offense in general, just because the scheme is RPO. I think it's going to be more of about a situational thing where it's like down and distance is going to determine when they bring Robbie in for like his what's on the play sheet is like, okay, we're in this scenario. This is a good time to bring Robbie in for this. But I could see early in the year them even trotting out both of them into a formation where, Robbie lines up in the slot and they're going to do some sort of either actual motion thing where he takes the handoff and has an option to either run or pass off of that, or just as a decoy out there. I think that there's a lot of creative things that could be done. And this is not me. I don't have any intel on this. Like I haven't been to a single practice. I haven't been to any scrimmages. I haven't talked to anybody and asked, hey, what is Robbie's package? None of that. I'm just talking about the imagination of Ike Jones as a play caller, if that was such a thing. So
Ike, we had a big commitment for the 2025 class yesterday, man. What are your thoughts on JJ Falk and what he brings to the table?
Gonna be honest, didn't watch a ton of JJ Falk film yet. It's so far out that I have not put a ton of attention on 25 guys. But from what I've heard about him, the kid is potentially going to be better than his brother, which is amazing.
Hold on now.
Wow.
I said what I've heard.
Now.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard that he's going to be a phenomenal player. But he still got some growth to do. Of course, he's still got to play his, final 2 years of high school. Who knows what's going to happen there? But, from some people who are well more into recruiting than I am say that he could creep into the, the nation's top 100 as far as where he is right now. So I don't doubt that. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he produces over the next 2 years of high school.
Yeah, Blake, I know you have a brother, Ike. I'm not sure about you. I have a brother as well, and just kind of seeing that, man, seeing them embrace and how emotional that was, and knowing that their dad died at an early age, and he was a longtime Auburn fan. I can only imagine how special it was for those guys. That was pretty awesome, and just kind of knowing, like, I mean, if you follow me or my little brother on Twitter, my little brother is shouting me out all the time, man. That's my dog. I love my little brother to death. So that really. That really kind of touched home with me. And I think those kids are going to be playing motivated, man. Like they picked Auburn for a reason. They want to honor their dad. I'm sure they feel like he's looking down on us and we're going to make him proud. And that can be a hell of a duo. And you're starting to get these kids out of the state of Alabama, and you're beating Alabama for them head up. This is becoming a trend. I feel like I feel like that part of it, people kind of see, okay, his brother was of course he's going to come to Auburn. No. He was very clear in his commitment that it wasn't about that. Now, ultimately, some of the things I just mentioned probably were the reason they won out, but he gave Alabama serious consideration, and he ultimately picked Auburn. So I just think that times are changing. As big as a fan as Mike G is of Jay Fair, you are a Keontae Scott guy. So what I wanted to get out of you tonight was, because Mike just said 1,000 yards for Jay Fair pretty much. Our guard Tanner had the audacity to ask Mike G if it would be Shane Hooks or Jay Fair. And of course, what was said. But
on that point, I actually do agree with Mike. I do think the most likely receiver that we have that eclipses at that 1,000 yards is going to be Jay Fair, just because I think he's going to get a volume that will allow him to do that. And I think he's got some wiggle to him after the catch. But that's not the question you're asking me.
No, what I'm asking you is to pump your boy up and give me some predictions of how big of a season. All SEC, even if it's second or third team. What's your boy going to do, man?
I think he could creep into, second or third team All SEC. I don't know that he's going to have a first team season. Here's the thing about how that stuff works. As a guy who's now media credentials and kind of understands it, it's going to be about the how sexy the team looks, not necessarily unless he's making splash plays where it's like you just can't avoid it. It's going to be more so about what the team's success is. And so if there are players on teams in the SEC that play, a slot corner, safety, whatever kind of way they want to categorize him, if there are going to be DBs out there in this league that are on more successful teams, they're going to get the nods for first, especially if it's Georgia, right? Like first team All SEC is going to be littered with Georgia defensive players, because Georgia's going to have a team that's going to be in competition for the national title, and it's going to be largely based upon how well that defense performs. So there's no way you don't see a bunch of Georgia guys get the nod there. And then for the outside corners, LSU's full of them. There's some, just because his name's Kool-Aid, for whatever reason, people think that McKinstry's going to be All SEC, right? Like, so the spots are already limited from just the perspective of the perception of the teams that are involved. And then you're going to have the success of those teams that are going to compound it. So second or third team, I think, is a more likely space for him to land. Not getting the preseason nods, a little bit of a disrespectful thing to him, but I understand again why that exists. But I do think he has an opportunity, especially in this scheme, playing the star backer. He's going to have his chances to stand out on Saturdays, and so I do expect him to land there by the end of the season.
Dustin, I just wanted to throw this one up here real quick, brother. We got Rodney Williamson says, "What's going on, Bruton, Alabama?"
Hey, man, I know I rep Pensacola, but that's where I was born, baby. Shout out to Bruton 251. T.R. Miller Tigers out there. They got a nice little quarterback. They got a nice little running back. Well, the Tigers going to do it. Unless you are a Neil Eagle, then go Eagles.
Yeah, man, Bruton right up the street from me.
You want to get Dax?
Yeah. I was going to throw Dax back in here. Dax Lee says, assuming we have a 7 or 8 win season, how does brother Hugh fare moving into the new SEC and an expanded playoff picture?
What do you think?
I mean, so building on a 7 or 8 win season gets you to close a couple of deals in the recruiting situation that you're going to need. Because I don't think that you get to 8 wins or 7+ without having your offense look somewhat competent throughout points in the season, right? So that's going to close the deal with some guys that you're in limbo on. The next thing that's going to be difficult about moving into that next echelon of playoff contention is going to be how much continuity you're going to have on defense. When you look at the defensive side of the ball, right? This is a pending problem, and I know we don't want to do rain clouds today, but you look at DJ James, Nehemiah Pritchett. If he has the kind of year I just described, Keontae Scott, potentially Jalen Simpson, Jason Jones, Justin Rogers, Larry Nixon III, Austin Key, like you're going to have a ton of attrition of guys who are probably going to be the nucleus of that defense. And so you're really going to be starting over with some of this stuff coming into that next season. A ton of young talent coming in that next year, but not a lot of proven talent that's going to be anchoring that, which I'm going to be paying close attention to how they do rotations on defense to get guys some actual game reps, because that's going to be so crucial when you're going into year 2. Having said all of those things, 7 or 8 wins helps you again close out some of those recruiting battles in a strong way for a lot of those 3 low 4-star kids that have their pick of programs, and maybe Auburn's not number 1 on their list right now. You're going to be able to get those and fill out some of your roster that you're going to need. And it's going to potentially help you a lot in the transfer portal the next season, because guys are going to see opportunities to come in and play because of the things I just mentioned as far as attrition. And, I can go and do the same thing along the offensive line and talk about a lot of the guys that likely will not be in that room again next year. So your depth is going to take a hit just off of natural attrition. You're going to need to backfill with a lot of those things. But if you do those things well, which Coach Freeze has proven to be able to do, then I do think Auburn could sneak into the back half of that 12 team, just because of the nature of what the SEC is going to be and looking at what the schedule is going to be for Auburn in 2024. You have an opportunity to go out there and make some waves.
You good on time for a minute? Because I want to get
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, cool. So what we want to do is we're gonna make some quick announcements, and we're gonna bring in somebody from the College Loop, man, and get this whole War Report network represented here on the screen. Blake, real quick, brother, talk to these people about the memberships and what they can how they can find us and help us out.
Yeah, if you want to join the JV squad, it's at $3.99 a month, and you can see right here on the screen, members only live chat. If you're listening on audio, we got member shout outs, priority reply to comments, early access to videos, and we are chopping up some exclusive gifts. Just hang with us on those. We will have those available here shortly. I'm trying my best, and we're going to have those squared away coming up here shortly. Or you can go over to the Varsity Squad for $5.99 a month, and you can get recruiting updated videos. And this is the one I'm most excited about, because you will see us this Friday night, Theodore High School at Baker High School. Bryce Kane, the Auburn wide receiver commit, going to be playing a little home game, and hopefully he can get his lick back from last year. Theodore put it on him pretty good, but we will have a live breakdown after the game, talking about what happens with Bryce Kane, what kind of night he had, and we will give that to our Varsity Squad members. We will release that probably Saturday morning, and we will have a game day group chat if you're interested in that. gameplay with you, look, send us your gamer tags. We're big Xbox guys. We will play Madden next summer. NCAA's coming out.
I've been on that Madden hard, boy. I've been on that Madden hard. Sorry to cut you off, but been using Tank, been pounding Tank up that A gap, baby.
Hey, shout out to Brad Lester too, real quick, for working with Tank, and man, the speed genius is absolutely killing it, bro. And how much he just pays attention to his guys and shouts them out on social media. I wanted to throw a shout out to him and the hard work that he does. And then watch the film with Auburn baseball. Look, I'm super excited about this one, breaking down guys like Ike Irish and things like that, Cooper McMurray and stuff like that. It's going to be a really exciting time. And then discounted merchandise. Go check out our T-shirts and everything like that. We will get some ticket giveaways. I'm excited about that. So a lot of big things happening. And Dustin, I just wanted to throw this out here, man. There's breaking news on the channel. We have our first ever super chat from Mr. Rodney Williamson with a $9.99 dono. That is the first one ever on this channel. So,
man,
yeah, appreciate you, Rodney.
And, we want to shout that out.
See his question there. He says he's a T.R. Miller Tiger. Yeah, Rodney. I was born in Bruton. My parents were split up at an early age, kind of a joint custody deal. So back and forth. On the weekends, I was in Bruton. I went to school here in Pensacola. So definitely got a lot of love for Bruton, man. I grew up there. And, yeah, my dad ran track and everything for T.R. Miller. So for sure, always got love for the Tigers. But like I mentioned, man, going to get our college loop guy in here, our representative, our boy, Harrison Tarr. Harrison, how are you tonight, my dude?
What's up, guys? Sorry. My computer's just not about it. I'm on my road setup right now. I'm in the middle of traveling, kind of on fun employment in between jobs. So I'm in my parents' house without my parents. It's a weird setup. We're trying to do what we can here. But good to see everybody. Ike, how we doing? Blake, Dustin, good to see you guys.
Yes, sir. We're ready for this football, dude. We're ready to get this thing fired up, man. How are you? You ready for it?
Rumor has it the football's around the corner. So we're on the street. And,
so you've been watching, man, behind the scenes there. We've asked everybody to lead off. A lot of stuff, like I've said every time, went into this for Hugh Freeze this offseason. Fractured fan base. The talent had to flip over. The whole offensive line had to be flipped. Everybody knows what it took at this point. What would you give Hugh Freeze's overall grade, man, as we stand today on how he handled his first season as Auburn's head coach, or offseason, excuse me?
I hate to sound like a copy parrot, but yeah, it's an A. I know that's been kind of the ongoing theme to this point. I always grade when we do like the stuff like this over on the loop. I go A-, A+. I don't ever give anybody an A+. I'm like that a-hole professor that really annoys the crap out of you. That I always say that there's no such thing as perfection, and I treat myself the same way. So I'm going to treat Coach Freeze the same way. I certainly always there's always that one little thing you could have done. I can't think of many of them for Hugh Freeze. It's been a refreshing chapter, to say the least, and not just for the program, but actually being able to, like you guys, we have the privilege of interacting with so many fans. Just it's so much better that being on this side of the camera, listening to people be positive, and man, it shows. So I'm going to give him an A for sure.
Harrison, I wanted to ask you, what unit are you most confident and least confident in as the season approaches?
This was a layup here, Blake. I'm going to be honest with you. It's probably the most generic answer you're probably ever going to hear. That linebacker room scares the ever-living crap out of me.
Over the D-line?
Yes, still over the D-line. I'm not saying the D-line doesn't also scare me. Right. But that linebacker room, the lack of depth, the lack of proven talent, that one's tough to look at. Running back room is far and away the most confident part of this whole team. I don't think you've got a bad back in that group. Between you must off people like Damari, obviously Jarquez, Brian Matee, Sean Jackson. Dylan has already coined the New Mexico State game as the potential Sean Jackson game. So I like that, by the way. I'm behind it. I'll push my Sean Jackson agenda alongside my colleague. So yeah, no, I think that room is certainly the most confident, I guess, on this group. And closely behind that, I love these DBs. I mean, I'm telling you, this DB room, I'm really excited. And I know you were speaking to that a minute ago. I have to try to keep myself from falling into those nightmares about the what ifs with the transfer portal in 2024. What if things get too I guess, convoluted, too close in terms of too many bodies Right now, it's a good problem to have. And there are guys that I'm a huge Nehemiah Pritchett truther.
Let's go. Yeah, for sure.
You see, I always knew I liked you, Dustin. Dustin he just knows ball. What can I say?
Get off my boy Nehemiah.
That's right. I think that if you look at post the departure of the previous tenure that I don't even name, like Voldemort, he got so much better, guys. Nehemiah Pritchett was playing good football, and that's a statement of fact, not a statement of opinion. I think that dude can play on Sundays, and we all know about DJ James. I mean, like I don't have to go there, but and then my boy Kindly, he could play on Sundays tomorrow. So I mean, there's depth there too. So
when speaking on the defense, you mentioned a lot of guys other than KM, but you mentioned some guys that we know are established. Give me some breakout guys, man. I've been real big on Keldrick Falk. Give me some breakout guys, some guys that ain't really stepped up yet, but are going to make some noise this year.
Man, you would go ahead and tell me I can't preach about Kindly and Keldrick Falk, so that's good. Go ahead and just put me on the spot like that.
No, hey, pump up the Keldrick hype with me, bro. Come on,
dude. I mean, there's certainly a lot of hype behind Tyler Scott too. But Keldrick Falk, I'm there. Kindly is my dog. Has been since signing day. Dylan and I have. Dylan actually doesn't even talk about it on the show because I won't shut up about him. His tape is that fun to watch, Blake. It really is. There's a reason Ohio State wanted this guy. He would have played for them this year. That's gonna be my dude if he can get in the rotation, which he will. I'm telling you, that's been my. Of course, you had to take that one away from me, Dustin. I won't hold it against you. But that's been my breakout guy, kind of all year.
For sure.
Harrison, I just wanted to ask you this one, man, because like I know you're a little younger, right? And you haven't really gotten to watch those 2004, 2010 teams and everything like that, right? So how excited are you about the new era of football at Auburn and having a guy like Coach Hugh Freeze that has dominated, Alabama and when he was at Ole Miss, he beat them twice and everything. Just is it refreshing to have a guy that's recruiting this well and all the hype is set up around the program?
Well, I'm going to wrap myself out for a second here, Blake. So I grew up a Georgia Tech fan. My dad's an alum of Georgia Tech. I grew up with Paul Johnson. It couldn't have gotten worse.
Okay.
So actually, rooting from the outside in, I'm embarrassed to say who I wanted to win the 2010 national championship. I'm glad it wound up working the way it did. But I had my first cousin was at Oregon at that time. That's all I'm going to say. But no, in terms of my experience, I've been an Auburn fan, or at least been familiar with the program, dating back to 2012. So that was an interesting time to come into the program, and really started paying attention in 2015. This is the craziest level of, and not just crazy in a bad way, but in a very, very impressive way. I guess just a refreshing chapter and a fresh start that I've ever experienced at Auburn, and knowing so many people that obviously I graduated with. You guys mentioned I'm the youngest person in this room, still the oldest on my podcast, by the way. Throwing that one out there, and don't think I'm a month older than Lark, and don't you ever think I don't let him forget it. It is truly remarkable seeing people like Dylan, who have been lifelong Auburn fans, and this is something like an era that I've never seen of almost not relief, but contentment right now, and excitement. Obviously, that's the given. Our generation's hungry for our time. I remember when. I truly remember when. Because as Dustin, you mentioned it when we talked about it a little bit pre-show. 2013, I had braces and a buzz cut. Bad luck. I try to forget those days in any way possible. I certainly don't remember much other than the Brand Jordan hair and kick six. Apparently, that was a big deal. But this is far and away night and day different than the hiring of the previous administration. I mean, when Harsin was named head coach, it was kind of like, okay, what if? And then you bring in Coach Freeze, where there is a clear vision and there is a tangible and a plan that he can regurgitate. And at least, even if it's coach speak, which it's been mentioned already in the stream, I really don't think it is. There is a concrete vision that someone believes that you can truly take Auburn back to the national championship, back to the CFP, or to the CFP for the first time. You know what I mean? It has never been this level of, okay, when does toe meet leather? But not just because we miss football, not just because we're ready to put on our sorority pins for game day, but because it's time to see a different chapter and truly a new era of Auburn football.
Yeah, I said it earlier on the stream, Harrison. I know you heard us, that it's been 9 straight years of 4+ losses. That means there's 2 entire classes that have gone through from freshman to senior year that haven't seen a season where they at least lost 4 games. There's juniors on Auburn's campus right now that haven't even seen a bowl game. They're seniors that haven't seen a bowl game win. Their one was a Birmingham beat down to Houston. And I know it was 13-10, but you scored 10 points for Houston, bro. You got your ass kicked. That was absolutely pathetic.
That was my last game as a student. Thank you for reminding me, Dustin.
Oh my goodness.
I'll one up you.
Hey,
my 4 years, I never saw Auburn beat Georgia.
Hey, Luke Deal mentioned that on the fireside, Ike. He said, I'm not trying to graduate without beating Georgia. Can't have this, man. We can't. I know what Georgia is. That'll get us into a question here. Harrison, we pull off an upset. Let's say we pull off an upset. A big one, too. Don't give me Ole Miss or something. Because I know right now Ole Miss is favorite or whatever in the ESPN FPI or whatever the hell they call it. Who would it be, though, man? Who do you think it would be?
Ike Dustin's killing me here. He took my answer away from me. I'm not allowed to say Ole Miss. That's crazy.
We're going to smoke Ole Miss, Harrison.
Yeah.
That ain't no competition. What are they, Ike? They broken ugly?
Hey,
broken ugly is a factual
along
thing.
with the college loop predictions. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I got us 9-2 going into the Iron Bowl. I got to go back and revise that. I don't know how. I guess if you're looking at the big three, you're pretty much limiting me to Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. You segued this one in with Georgia. It won't be them. That's not it. Man, LSU is really good. I have LSU winning the West, and actually I have LSU making the CFP.
Okay.
If a team can beat Georgia, in my opinion, I think it's LSU. Now, could the wheels fall off the Brian Kelly bus? Hell yeah, we've seen it happen before, a lot. That Iron Bowl at Jordan Hare, man. That Iron Bowl at Jordan Hare. There's something about it. It's if you've not lived it in person, you don't get it. It is different. Nothing matters. One team could be over, the other team could be undefeated. There is a lot to that cliche of nothing matters in the Iron Bowl. That feels like the one. And I think Alabama's going to be a little quieter than they have in years past. That being said, Alabama's going to be a damn good football team. Don't get me distraught there. They could win the SC West. They could go back to CFP. All that to be said, if I've got those 3 options, I'm not circling Georgia. That one's in Sharpie and struck out. But Alabama, I would not be surprised if we saw another goofy ending at Jordan Hare and a storm field.
Yeah, my thing with the Ole Miss thing, Harrison, is like Auburn Jesus is not going to allow this. He's not going to allow this. Lane Kiffin's not going to walk across our field, shake Brother Hugh's hand, and then send off the stupid tweet from the locker room making fun of us. I believe in Auburn Jesus. He's let us down before, but he will not let us down that day. I truly believe that.
Do you have Auburn beating Ole Miss?
Do I have Auburn beating Ole Miss? Yes.
Oh, come on now.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm not the only one drinking the Kool-Aid. Apparently, I'm.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean that I don't have a season where I don't have Auburn beating Ole Miss. So like even when we sucked, I was like, oh, we're gonna beat them.
Yep.
Yeah. 35-11 all time. So odds are, Ike, if there was a big upset, who are you going with?
I think of the big 3 that mentioned, I think Alabama is the most likely. I am not. You've heard me talk about this before, Dustin. I can see a scenario where we could beat Georgia, though.
Yes,
just putting it out there. I can see a scenario. I'm not predicting that,
right?
But I am telling you, there is a scenario that exists where Auburn can beat Georgia and it not be a fluke.
They've won a lot of games in a row.
That is Carson Beck's first true road test.
That's the biggest portion of this is about the fact that whoever Georgia starts, Carson Beck or anybody else as a quarterback on that team, will not have played a road SEC game at all before that game. And I'm looking at the fact that that quarterback could potentially screw up a lot of things for them. Combine that with the fact that I am no confidence in the play caller that's over there in Mike Bobo. And really, I mean, they're going to have to lean on that run game. So the problem here is Auburn going to be stout enough against the run to make Beck be the guy that beats you? Don't know the answer to that. And that's why I can't predict it until I've seen our rush defense in action. But there is a scenario that exists where Auburn could walk out of there with a W if Carson Beck just falls apart or whoever the QB is.
So about a week ago, Ike, me and you just kind of popped into a space and somebody, a Georgia fan, I think maybe it was a Georgia fan, but somebody was trying to kind of convince us that Mike Bobo was the truth, was actually the words he used. and
Yeah.
you were teed up.
Yeah.
Like you were right there. You were about to go and somebody cut you off. And I was highly upset that right when you was about to crank that thing up. So can you give that to me?
Yeah, I mean, Mike Bobo is an average play caller. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Like, he's not terrible, but he's not great. Right? Like, he's an average play caller. He's a guy with a bunch of talent could potentially, call a good game, but there's never been anything elite about Mike Bobo as a play caller. Like, I just don't know where that thought process ever birthed from, that he was trying to sell himself on that. Georgia fans will tell you Mike Bobo average. Colorado State fans will tell you Mike Bobo average. Auburn fans will absolutely tell you Mike Bobo average. South Carolina fans will tell you Mike Bobo's average. How did he all of a sudden get to be elite? I don't know what universe that exists in. I don't know what alternate reality people are living in. That's not to say that Mike Bobo won't have a good game calling something, but there's not a universe that exists that his game plan and play-to-play calling has ever been elite, ever.
Ike is spitting right now. I also want to remind the world and everyone, God and everyone, that there was quite literally an SEC championship between Georgia and Alabama that was a national championship. Alabama wound up steamrolling Notre Dame, where Mike Bobo and Mark Richt both forgot they had a timeout. They forgot they had a timeout. Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
I just don't. Like I said, that's not even hating on Mike Bobo. Again, I don't think he's bad. No, I'm just saying. But my statement isn't like hating means I have to like pile on some additional non-truth in order to distort the perspective. No, this is just facts. Like there's never been a place in time in which Mike Bobo has been gracing a sideline where anybody would put him in the top 20 of play callers during the time that he was there in college football. Nobody would do that. If they do, they're making that up. They don't watch enough football. It's not a real thing. He's always been a middling play caller. He's had outstanding talent and he's had good days, but I don't know. I just don't. I mean, again, I'm not saying he's terrible, but I'm definitely not going to this elite level that kid was talking. I don't know who he was, but that
was funny, man.
That he was huffing it. He was huffing like an exhaust pipe before he got on
that. Sniffing glue. Our boy Sanders said, and this is on the Georgia point here. And I want to say real quick, everybody take a deep breath. Your last two play callers have been Mike Bobo and Eric Kiesel. Things are going to get better starting versus UMass, I promise. Tanner says, I'll take a hot take. If Auburn is 4-0 going into the Georgia game, I think Auburn can give them a run for their money. The hype going into that game would be insane. And this is my part with the Georgia game. I'm not saying it's going to happen just like Ike said, but one, Georgia has won a lot of games in a row. They have.
Yeah.
And you lose, man. You saw last year. It was like Sam Houston State they struggled for a while against. They barely eked out the Missouri game. Missouri gave a lot of games away last year. And
they struggled against Stanford last year.
Yeah, they it's just you're not going to play up every time. And it is pretty wild to hear their players say that at the end of the season, everybody doubted us when everybody picked you. I don't know what Kirby's cooked up over there. That's pretty impressive. But you're not going to bring your A game every time. You're going to get caught slipping, especially when you're that talented of a team. But they're so talented, they've been able to get out of it. But like Blake said, it'll be their quarterback's first road game. We saw our guy last year go into Georgia, his first road game, and it was too big for him. Running wide open, just fumble the ball type thing. He had, it was what it was.
Soul,
I know,
bro.
I know.
Oh my God, that hurt my soul so because he was like it was like the momentum. Oh my God, I don't want to do it.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I know. What's up, Harrison?
That was the fake punt game, right?
Yeah, where Auburn tried to run the fake punt.
Oh God, yeah, dude.
I legitimately have a hole in the drywall in my apartment from that game.
That's me with the Coy Moore pass for LSU. Yeah, you move the ball all the way down to the red zone, and you ask the receiver to throw a ball, run into the sideline. Absolutely ridiculous.
Sorry, Dustin.
No, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I'm just going to chime in 1 second on the Georgia note. Auburn is in my book not beating Georgia this year. If they were to, there's an element. Georgia's due. They're due. There is a little bit of an element of you are super due for a regular season loss. And there also becomes an element of how good is Hugh Freeze playing up the "Why not us" card. And you learn about that a lot. I hope it didn't just run Ike off the stream, but Ike is determined. I'm actually getting my termination papers, guys. This is a lot of fun. But there is that element. And if you guys come up with anything ridiculous that you want anybody to do, if Auburn beats Georgia, I will be the person to do it. You can make me do a TikTok. I don't care. Like I told you, I grew up a Tech fan. I'm sorry to you guys on the stream. I hate Georgia more than I hate Alabama.
I'm with you on that.
If Georgia was playing North Korea in a sport, I would consider cheering for North Korea. Like, that's where we're at. Like, underwater basket weaving, hope they lose at that too. Don't care. Like,
yeah, because I'm at this point with you the first time we ever recorded with you, Harrison. My thing with Jordan, me and you agree with this 100% because when me and Blake, we're growing up, it was 6. We owned Bama. I wasn't worried about it. It wasn't until Saban showed up. It was always LSU and Georgia that I was battling with. It was always LSU to win the West. And then the games with Georgia were always tight, and our programs were always kind of on the same level. They've hired a great coach, and their program has ascended to what it is. Pre-Kirby Smart, Auburn and Georgia were the same thing. And the record up until recently was around like 51-50, been playing every year since 1892. Our record versus Georgia in baseball, super close. Our record versus Georgia in basketball all time is super close. That, to me, I'm with you on that. And then I see Bama fans on Twitter, and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I still hate these guys more. But it's
that's the beauty of college sports, my friend.
Yeah, you know what gets me is the Arkansas fans. I want to give the shout out to all the Arkansas and Ole Miss fans, bro. Y'all are the most delusional bunch of people I've ever seen in my life, dog.
And you give us the most clicks I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Arkansas and Ole Miss fans, if you're hanging out, what up?
That's a game I'm worried about, though. That is a game I'm worried about, is going on the road, Rocket Sanders, man, and just the way they're able to run that ball. I'm not saying we're going to lose to them, but you go to Vanderbilt the week before. That's not necessarily a test, sure, but it's 2 back-to-back SEC road games, and then you're going up there to a team that just ran the ball down our throat. What does our depth look like that deep in the season? Are we dropping bodies? Are we able to stop the run? I am worried about that game, all trash talk aside. But historically, Arkansas chill. I saw Jacob Davis today or yesterday or something with some, what did he say, Blake? 10-2 or something? I know Mike G quote tweeted and said, "Boy, stop."
I muted him. I couldn't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. I can't because
right, be realistic.
Like, look. I just watched Swamp Kings a while ago, and the one time you did get to Atlanta, you had your best 2 running backs in school history, and you got beat down, all right, by Florida. Ole Miss, they ain't never been there, all right? They didn't even get to see the inside of the Georgia Dome, all right? All they got to see was the implosion when they blew it up, all right? So
the bus drove in front of it.
I mean, like, and you want to sit here and talk to me about back when they wore leather helmets, you won 3 national championships. Come on, bro. Like, get out of here. I'm tired of you thinking you're on some type of level.
Well, Arkansas fans, too, don't forget the good reason to be concerned, Dustin. I mean, they keep saying that KJ Jefferson is a better version of Cam Newton, which is objectively hilarious.
All right, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm out. I can't do that.
By a landslide. It's hilarious.
Hey, can we get one thing? And Harrison, look, one thing I really do want to stop in college sports is every time we have a 6'5", 6'6" quarterback that is 240 pounds, 250 pounds, they immediately, he's the next Cam Newton. Like, can that stop? I mean, it's like Anthony Richardson. I mean, I know a couple Florida fans. My buddy DG's a huge Florida fan, and everything is, man, he really looks like the next Cam Newton. And I'm like, man, this dude, I watched this dude jump from the 7-yard line and into the end zone against South Carolina for shits and gigs. All right. He didn't even have to do it. And I saw an Alabama fan say, well, look at Jalen Milroe last year at Arkansas. He went for 80 yards. And I'm like, he's like, this is a Cam Newton type of run. And I'm like, buddy, Cam Newton would have dove from the 7 and scored, not got pushed out at the 2. I'm sick of hearing it. Like, I even heard that the Nick Perkins dude say that Jalen Milroe shows flashes of Cam Newton. And I'm just like, buddy, delusional.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Cam Newton is one of one, bro. Like, and that's just, I mean, here's the thing. You can be an amazing quarterback and still not have to be compared to Cam Newton. Like, just because you're an athletic quarterback in the SEC, like, let's stop trying to compare people to Cam Newton because there's not going to be another Cam Newton ever. Like, they're like, There just aren't human beings walking around that are Cam Newton. It's just not a real thing. So just leave it alone.
Guys, I was just scrolling through Twitter the other day, and just to speak on his greatness and how, and I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but Cam went to Carolina, and they were a dumpster fire at the time, right? And he brought that organization back. And I was scrolling through Twitter, and I saw that he is the only NFL quarterback with 30,000 passing yards and 5,000 rushing yards. Dude, like you said, he's one of one, and I don't think he really gets the credit that he deserves, because I think of one thing, man. He didn't dive on that fumble in the Super Bowl, and I think people just always speak down on his name because of that one play. Dude made a mistake.
They were looking for a reason to not like him, though. Like, that's just one of those things. Like, if he dove on that, and
they still lose.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, bro. Like, let's be real. Cam Newton is still amazing. He won an MVP that season without a number one receiver. Think about that for a second. A quarterback with no number one receiver at all, not even like a primary target, won the MVP. That's not real, bro. Like, that's video game stuff. Like, are we being serious with ourselves?
It's also just not that different from what he did with the 2020 Auburn team.
Yeah. He's been doing it his whole career, man. Like, let's stop pretending like it's just, no, it's just kind of what he does, man. He's just kind of that guy. So trying to compare, and no disrespect to KJ Jefferson. I think he's he's a good kid, and he's a decent quarterback. But I mean, come on, bro. Like, this is his third year starting at quarterback. If he ain't shown Cam Newton in 2 other years, this ain't gonna be the year, man. This isn't gonna be the year where he all of a sudden blossoms into Cam Newton. Cam Newton's been Cam Newton since he was a freshman sitting behind Tim Tebow at Florida. Let's be serious. He went to Blinn, showed out. Like, he's just been Cam his whole life, bro. KJ's not going to come out of some sort of offseason cocoon and emerge into Cam Newton. That's not a real thing.
Boy.
Grant Loy, though, Ike, your boy B Will's forehead. I forgot about this name. Wow. We're having a good time here on the Up Tempo kickoff special. Everybody's having a good time. We've got the college loop. We've got the war report. We've got Up Tempo. And here comes B Will's forehead with the reminder that Grant Loy once took snaps for Auburn at quarterback. I really, really appreciate that, buddy. Listen, guys, we started recording here. We were at like 800 subs. We're trying to get to 1,000, man. A lot of things open up for you when you get to 1,000 on YouTube. So please like the video. Please subscribe. When you do, use hashtag level up. If you're listening on audio, that's LVL up, all caps. And yeah, man, just really appreciate you guys. Since July the 1st, since we got with our guy Ike here at the War Report Network, over 500 subs, man. So a big thank you to you, Ike. A big thank you to C-Dub, B Will, and our guy Mike, man. You guys have been tremendous. I know that Harrison will speak for that as well. I know you guys just cleared 500. Please get over there, guys, and subscribe to the College Loop. They're doing great things over there, man. Let's pump them boys up to 1,000 here. I had a question that I wanted to kind of ask everybody here. And y'all listen, so y'all know I'm big on the big boys up front. I think that they don't get nearly enough love. And a lot of the reason they don't give enough love is because when I title an episode about the big boys, it does not do well. So got to kind of sneak it in. Yeah. But let's say end of the year, who is going to be the highest rated, grade out the best offensive lineman? I'm still in here first because my question. I'm going Avery Jones. I'm big on Avery Jones. Your film breakdown convinced me, Ike. I think that he's going to be able to get those boys lined up. I have a lot of questions. As much as we've heard about the offensive line, how positive it's been, I still have the questions about, do they gel as a unit? Yes, they're all, I feel like we've upgraded talent-wise. How do they come together? But after watching your film breakdown, I really felt like Avery Jones is the guy that can get all those guys lined up, and he's going to kind of be that anchor and help that whole chemistry on that unit out. But also, I think he's a hell of a player. Yeah. And I'm going to go with him. And if he does get hurt, that freshman backup we got is a bad, bad boy. Blake, I'll start with you. Highest rated offensive lineman.
I said it the other night, man, and I'm sticking with it. Gunnar Britton.
That's right. You did say
another solid choice.
For sure. Ike?
I would have said either of those two guys had I been given the first pick. Yeah, I mean, just because I'm a big Avery Jones guy, not just because his last name is amazing, but listen, from watching him play, from talking to him, having conversations with him, his football acumen is there. He's got enough nasty in him to go out there and baptize a few people if necessary. I'm a believer in what Avery Jones is going to bring to this football team as far as his experience, which is going to be necessary to bring some sort of cohesion to that offensive line unit. So, I think Avery Jones has a good shot, and hearing some great things about what Gunnar Britton is doing there with his versatility. I think he might be the most valuable offensive lineman, but highest graded, I'm going to go Avery Jones.
Harrison?
I think I speak on behalf of the college loop, actually, in this regard. We are Gunnar Britton truthers in that regard, and I'm impressed by the house cleaning, for lack of a better term.
Right.
But what he did at WKU was just crazy. I mean, really, really impressive. Watching his film ahead of that game last year, I was like, oh wait, like this guy should not be playing in this conference. This dude can play. This guy would be a good fit at Auburn. Lo and behold, here we are. I don't think there's a wrong option here, though. Avery Jones certainly does.
Sure.
And certainly, like you, Dustin, interested to see how this group would gel. No news is good news in my book, though. Like in terms of if you've not heard negatives, it's okay to assume the positive. That's called being, an optimist and going into a season.
That offensive line looks anything like what Jake Thornton put together last year at Ole Miss. I'll be okay. Guys, we're going to be getting out of here in about 5 or 6 minutes. If you have any comments for Ike or our guy Harrison here or me or Blake, get them up there. Obviously, Super Chats, we'll get your comment read immediately. Trying to get our members here. Our guy James Burnett, man. James, we appreciate you. We see you supporting everybody over here at the War Report Network. I want to shout out to you, my guy. I want to look over here. Let's go a little off. Let's go a little off kilter here. A lot of these guys, a lot of these rookies have kind of had a good week preseason wise. Give me a guy this year, Ike, a rookie that's going to show out in the NFL, former Auburn guy.
Show out as a rookie. This one hurts my soul, man, because none of them are on my team. So,
you're fantasy? Oh, no, you're 49er.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with the guy who I know we will likely not play and say Tank Bigsby.
He's easy.
And not because I don't believe. I actually do believe he's going to be really good. He is going to get number 2 back carries there in Jacksonville, and I just think that Tank is a guy who didn't get the just due that he deserved here at Auburn. As far as just there was never a system that allowed him to flourish in the way that he was supposed to. He never had an offensive line that really blocked for him in the way that would have put him up there in the conversations to make him one of the better running backs in the country that his talent allows him to be. I think in Jacksonville, he's going to get an opportunity because he's not going to be the focal point this time, right? He gets to be the Jarquez Hunter this time, where everybody's like, he's better than a starting running back. You see how he breaks off all these runs? It's like, yeah, but people are focusing on ETN. And when Tank comes in, they're not really expecting it early in the season. I think he's going to catch some people by surprise. They're going to relax a little bit, and he's going to make them pay for it. He's powerful, runs behind his pads. His acceleration seems like I never thought of Tank as really a fast guy, but man, when he's out there in the open field during these preseason games, he's out there showing it, man. So I'm very excited about what Tank Bigsby is going to do this season, being the change of pace or the second back out of that Jacksonville backfield. So yeah, I'll go with Tank.
Harrison, what say you?
I'm sorry, Ike. I think it's Derek Hall. I know. Yeah, I know that one hurts your soul. It hurts mine a little bit too. Love Derek. I'm from Grayson, Georgia. So Owen Papo getting drafted to the Cardinals was detrimental to my mental health. Fun fact: I scooped ice cream with him in high school. That's a true story. But Derek Hall. The Seahawks got a bargain when they got him.
I just hope he has 2 bad games this season. Just 2.
Praying on a man's downfall is one way to go about it.
Listen, there are plenty of other games for him to be amazing. I just need him to have 2 bad games, and that is the trip to San Francisco and when San Francisco makes the trip to Seattle.
We'll call it even as long as you're pushing Marlon Davidson propaganda.
I'm here for Marlon Davidson having a comeback season, baby. Right. Let's go.
Is he off the Falcons?
Yes.
He's on the 49ers.
All right. Come on, Marlon.
Forever a legend in my heart for the thick six against Tom Brady. Just saying.
Hey, you trying to get kicked off a stream, bro?
He froze right there.
He froze anyway. Talk about the GOAT. Talk about the GOAT, bro.
I mean, the pick six against Tom Brady was crazy. Honestly, perfect timing to freeze, but Derek Hall.
Derek Hall. I like that. I'm gonna go with you too, Ike, with Tank, man. It's I'm just so high on what Jacksonville's about to be. That AFC is absolutely loaded when you look at quarterbacks. And I mean, you've got Mahomes, you've got Allen, you've got Burrow, might be better than all of them. You've got Herbert sitting there. Trevor Lawrence is about to do his thing, man. Like the AFC is just what you got here.
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. I don't know. I gotta see a little bit more from Kenny Pickett. Now I'm not down on him, but I just gotta see a little bit more. I'm saying, man, that AFC is stacked, and I think that Jacksonville is really primed to get it turned around. I love their head coach. I think they've got a great system there, and I think the Tank is probably going to take that RB1 spot at the end. Blake, what say you?
Tank, man. I mentioned it earlier with Brad Lester and the job of him shouting his guys out and the work that he does. And Tank, man, like I've always said, when people, while he was at Auburn, people kind of, they would throw out that Jarquez was better and everything. But I know Auburn didn't have the O-line that they've had in years past with their great backs in history, right? But I feel like his game is more set up for the NFL than it was in college, bro. Like the way he's so patient behind the line of scrimmage, and he reminds me a lot of Le'Veon back when he was in his prime, bro, with the Steelers, and he would let the line set up, the blocks set up, bro, and then he would hit the hole. And I just think the jump cut and that just fits so well into the game of the NFL, and the speed. Like one run last year where I kind of said, whoa, like Tank's different, and that was against Ole Miss.
Yeah, the Ole Miss game, he was going nuts.
Bro, that touchdown run, I think it was 54 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
That run was different. And I said, hey, this dude's going to be a problem. And then like 2 weeks later, I walked up. I was in Atmore, Alabama, and I walked up to a gas station. I had on an Auburn shirt, and the guy looked at me and he says, is Tank Bigsby better than Bijan Robinson? And I said, absolutely. And he looked at me and he said, wow. And he said, what brings you to that? And I said, look, you're probably thinking that I'm crazy, right? I said, I just think the style, once he gets into the NFL, and like I just mentioned, he reminds me of Le'Veon. I just think he's going to pop, and I'm starting to see it in the preseason, and it's got me excited, man. I think he could eventually become running back one, bro. I really do.
All right, I want to ask you a question off this one. Go showing love to a new running back, or I say new, but this is really going to be his year to shine. Current running back on the team, Damari Alston. We mentioned earlier, I believe it was Mike that mentioned that he's kind of stepped up and been a leader, which I thought was really impressive to hear that him and Jay Fair are on that leadership council and really, asserting themselves in the locker room, because those are two true sophomores, right? So that's pretty impressive to me. Somebody's got to step up. So in the last 2 years, I mean, Tank went for 970 yards. So all the points we just made about him behind that offensive line in that system. So, and we know what Jarquez is. That's why we're so high on what Jarquez is going to do this year. It's obviously his time to shine, and we hope he gets his year, and then he's the next guy we're talking about in the league. But somebody has got to take Jarquez's role that he's had the past 2 years. I think it's going to be Damari, but that's a crowded running back room. Yeah. But he's very talented. And Jeremiah Cobb, the noise is only going to keep getting louder because the kid is a freaking stud. Do you think Damari takes control of that RB2? And if he does, kind of yardage and touchdown wise, where do you think he would, not even where you think he will land, what do you think he would have to do? Where's his area for him to be that effective number 2 back when Jarquez is off the field?
Yeah, I think that Damari Alston is the clear number 2 running back on this team right now. He's proven it during the offseason. You can't see an Auburn football highlight cut up without seeing Damari Alston do something amazing. He and Jarquez are very similar in size. I think he's a little bit more shifty than Jarquez is. Jarquez might be a little bit more fat, let them tell it. And that Damari will win a foot race. I don't know if that's actually true. I think Jarquez might actually get him in a foot race. But hey,
yeah, for sure.
If you saw the fireside, you know that they don't agree on who's the fastest guy in that running back room. But yeah, I think running back to Damari Alston for sure, because he's a guy that you don't have to take off of the field. He could be RB1 for a lot of teams around the country right now. So there are a lot of teams that would welcome Damari Alston into their locker room and say, hey, it's your show here. So I think he is definitely going to do some big things. As far as numbers are concerned, I think 700 to 800 yards is probably a good place for him to be in on the ground this season. All-purpose yards, he's probably going to get close to 1,000 because I do think he's going to catch the ball a little bit. So 150 to 200 yards through the air, and may even get an opportunity to return some kicks this year in the kickoff situation, just because I think that most teams are going to do their best to never kick the ball to Brian Batty. I think they're just going to be like, just don't let him touch it. Whoever else is back there, kick it to that guy. That could be Damari back there with him. So I think he could get close to 1,000 all-purpose yards this season.
Let me ask you this real quick. We'll bring up one more comment. We'll get out of here, guys. Keontae's returning punts, you think? Is that where we're landing on?
Yeah, Keontae Scott is the starting punt returner for the team right now, for sure.
10-4. All right, I got James Burnett. Sometimes people act as offensive line that come from teams other than the SEC can't play, but the guys we picked up appear to be proving them wrong. Guys, do y'all have any concern that these guys are coming from G5? I don't.
No, if you can play ball, you can play ball. Like, I've seen those guys play against G5 competition. Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Gunnar Britton didn't get abused a few times in our game. He was going against Derek Hall a lot of those times, and Kobe Witt and the rest. So, like, they've abused a lot of guys over their career. So him getting beat by two of the best the SEC has to offer is nothing to sneeze at, considering he held his own for a lot of the other snaps. But yeah, no, I don't have any concerns about that with them, just because typically when you have G5 guys and you're worried about that, the translation is usually about size and strength, and both of them, they fit the profile of an SEC caliber size and strength offensive line.
For sure. Blake, you got anything?
I'm good, man. I'm just ready for September 2nd. I'm hyped up.
Yes, sir. Harrison, how can the people find you, show you support, brother?
I'm over on the Burnout at X, whatever you want to call it. At by Harrison Tar. You can hang out with me on threads there as well. Same handle. Everything's the same everywhere. If you want to find us at the College Loop, there are no gimmicks. We're very, very easy to find at the College Loop. There's literally nothing special about the handle other than the fact that it rocks. So if you want to make sure you go and check us out over there, subscribe over there. Make sure you're giving all these guys love right over here at the Up Tempo as well as at the War Report. I mean, they're the reason that we've been able to really get our voice out there. And we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for having me on tonight. Had a blast. I always good to catch up, man. Good to hear you. Good to see you.
Go get one of those Feeling Loopy shirts, man. Go get one of those Feeling Loopy shirts. They're up on the War Report website.
They're awesome.
Yes, sir. And if after you get that one, why don't you snag you one of these?
Hey,
level up, man. Go on the website, bro. Get you this shirt right here. Help us out. Support us. Like me and Blake tell you guys all the time. We have a lot of big plans, man. We really do. But these things cost money. So, and it's not like we're taking this little bit of money and putting it in our pockets, man. It's getting pumped right back in the podcast. There's so many things that we want to accomplish here. We appreciate everybody getting on here with us tonight. If you're living under a rock somehow, and you don't know how to find the War Report, I tell the people what you got going on.
Hey, listen, it's possible there are a lot of people who don't. So, hey, we are the War Report everywhere, right? Like if there's a social media platform, that's where we are. Unless it's TikTok, which is TW Report, which we don't do a lot of TikToks, but that's going to be changing here very soon. So stay tuned for some TikTok situations popping up here. I'm tweeting at TWR Ike Jones on Xbird, and that's how you can get in touch with us, man. War Report.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Hey, real quick, Home Field Apparel. If you haven't got it yet, you see me rocking it right here. If you're listening on audio, 1957 National Championship shirt. I don't think you're going to find that anywhere else but Home Field. And this is the perfect shirt because the first game's a whiteout, and we got a white version of the Level Up shirt if you want to do that too. So don't be the jackass in there wearing orange. What you got, Blake?
Hammer Vandy minus 17.5 Saturday. I'm out.
All right, man. Hey, appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Share this video out on Twitter, Facebook, all that. And we will see you guys Friday morning at 10 a.m. Me and Blake are making our official predictions. Okay. And listen, I'm not bugging. I'm going to give you a real one. So don't get in my comments and on my Twitter talking, because I really have about 15. How can we go 10-2? Stop. You're getting a realistic take on Friday. War Damn Eagle. Love all y'all, man. We will catch you guys Friday, 10 a.m. We are out.
Peace. War damn.